Some lies we tell so often they start to feel like truth. For Nora Sullivan, the biggest lie she'd ever told wasn't spoken aloud. It was performed. Every eye roll, every sharp comment, every carefully constructed look of disdain directed at Ethan Brooks was a masterpiece of deception. The real tragedy was how good she'd become at it. Nora had always been the girl who colored outside the lines. Her apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood reflected this perfectly. Mismatched furniture she'd restored herself, walls covered in her own photography, and a collection of coffee mugs that told the story of every independent bookstore she'd ever visited. She made her living designing album covers for indie bands, work that paid poorly but fed her soul. Independence wasn't just her lifestyle, it was her religion. Then there was Ethan Brooks, who seemed to represent everything she'd spent her life avoiding. Structure, tradition, the kind of success that came with corner offices and client dinners. He was an architect at one of Seattle's most prestigious firms, the kind of man who wore tailored blazers even on weekends, and probably had his socks organized by color. He was also Lily's older brother, which made him impossible to avoid. Lily Brooks had been Nora's lifeline since their freshman year at the University of Washington. Where Nora was all sharp edges and defensive humor, Lily radiated warmth. She collected people the way Nora collected vintage cameras, seeing beauty in everyone. Their friendship was the kind that didn't require explanation, the kind where silence felt comfortable and honesty was currency. The trouble started 3 years ago at Lily's housewarming party. Nora had arrived late, paint still under her fingernails from finishing a commission. Wearing her favorite ripped jeans and a thrift store band shirt, she'd been laughing at something on her phone when she literally walked into someone's chest. "Careful there," a voice had said, hands steadying her shoulders. She'd looked up into eyes the color of Seattle's gray-blue sky, belonging to a man who somehow made a simple white shirt look like formal wear. His dark hair was slightly too long, curling at the collar in a way that seemed accidental, but probably wasn't. He had the kind of face that belonged in architecture magazines. All clean lines and proportion. "I'm fine," she'd said, stepping back too quickly. "Maybe watch where you're standing." His eyebrow had lifted slightly. "In the middle of the room." "Exactly." "High traffic area." She'd brushed past him, cheeks burning with embarrassment she refused to acknowledge. Lily had found her 5 minutes later. "I see you've met Ethan, your brother." Nora had felt something sink in her stomach. The one who's supposedly perfect at everything? "I never said perfect. I said accomplished." Lily had given her that knowing look. "He's actually really kind once you get past the intimidating exterior." But Nora hadn't wanted to get past anything. Because the moment Ethan smiled at something Lily said, the moment his whole face transformed from serious to genuinely warm. Nora had felt her carefully constructed independence waver, and that terrified her more than anything, so she'd built her defense. Sarcasm, distance, a performance so convincing that even Lily believed it. "You two are like oil and water." Lily would laugh after another dinner where Nora and Ethan spent the evening trading barbed comments. If only she knew they were more like match and gasoline. Now, sitting in Lily's favorite coffee shop on a drizzly Thursday morning, Nora watched raindrops race down the window and tried to focus on the design brief in front of her. She'd been staring at the same paragraph for 20 minutes. The door chimed. She didn't need to look up to know who'd entered. Her body had developed this unfortunate radar for Ethan's presence, something she deeply resented. "Nora." His voice carried that hint of amusement it always did around her. "Didn't expect to see you here. It's a public coffee shop in my neighborhood." "Where exactly did you expect me to be?" He slid into the seat across from her, uninvited, setting down something that smelled suspiciously like the lavender latte she always ordered. "Lily mentioned this was your spot." "And your drink?" She stared at the cup like it might explode. "Because I need your help." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that seemed almost nervous. This was new. Ethan didn't do nervous. "Lily's 30th birthday is in 3 weeks. I'm aware. I've known her longer than you've been paying attention." His jaw tightened slightly. "Point to Nora." "Right, well, I'm planning something special. A gallery exhibition of local artists, all her favorites. But I need someone who actually knows the art scene. Someone she trusts." He met her eyes directly. Someone like you. The request hung between them, loaded with implications. Working together meant proximity. Proximity meant her carefully maintained facade might crack. She should say no. The word formed on her lips. What's in it for me? She heard herself ask instead. Besides making our best friend happy? A slight smile. I'll fund your next project. Whatever you want to create, no questions asked. Nora's heart did something complicated. He'd been paying attention. He knew about the photography series she'd been trying to save money for. You're bribing me. I'm compensating you for your time and expertise. Same thing. Is it working? She took a sip of the latte he'd brought, perfectly made. She hated that he'd remembered. When do we start? Tomorrow. My office, 7 p.m. Why so late? Something flickered across his expression. Because if we're going to spend time together, I'd rather not have an audience. The admission felt significant, like a card played face-up. Nora's fingers tightened around the cup. This was dangerous territory, the kind that led to conversations she'd been avoiding for 3 years. Fine, she said, but I'm billing you for every minute. Wouldn't expect anything less. He stood, then paused. Nora, thank you. The sincerity in his voice made her armor feel suddenly thin. She watched him leave, rain painting patterns on the window that blurred his retreating figure. Somewhere in her chest, something that felt dangerously like hope began to unfold. She pulled out her phone and texted Lily, "Your brother is insufferable." The response came immediately. "And yet you said yes to helping him. Interesting." Nora stared at the message, then at the half-finished latte. Tomorrow night? Just a planning meeting. Nothing would change. She was lying to herself again. And this time, she knew it. The night air carried the scent of rain and possibility as Nora stood outside Ethan's office building, questioning every decision that had led her to this moment. Through the glass walls, she could see him at his desk, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, absorbed in whatever he was working on. This version of Ethan, slightly disheveled and unguarded, was more dangerous than the polished one she'd trained herself to dismiss. She pushed through the revolving door. Her vintage leather bag, heavy with sketches and contact lists. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt like ascending towards something inevitable, something she'd been running from since that first collision 3 years ago. "You're late," Ethan said without looking up, but there was no edge to it. Almost playful. Traffic exists. Some of us don't have drivers. She dropped her bag on the conference table, taking in the space. His office was unexpected. Warm wood and soft lighting, with sketches pinned haphazardly to boards. More human than she'd imagined. "I take the bus most days, actually." He finally looked up, and something in his expression made her pulse quicken. "Coffee? I had my assistant stock the good stuff. Bribing me again?" "Learning your language." He moved to the small kitchen area, and Nora found herself watching the way he moved. Efficient, but not rushed. "Lily talks about you constantly, you know? I probably know more about you than you'd be comfortable with." The admission made her defensive instincts flare. "That's borderline creepy, Brooks. Is it?" He handed her a cup, their fingers brushing. Neither pulled away immediately. "Or is it that I pay attention because I want to understand the person who matters most to my sister? That's all I am? Lily's friend?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Too revealing. Ethan's eyes searched hers, and for a moment the air between them felt charged with 3 years of unspoken words. "You know you're not?" His voice dropped lower. "You've known since the beginning. That's why you built walls so high. I'd need architectural plans to scale them." Nora's breath caught. "You think pretty highly of yourself." "I think," he said carefully, setting down his cup, "that we've both been pretending. The difference is, I'm tired of it." Before she could respond, he pulled out a folder thick with papers. Business, safe territory. Except nothing felt safe anymore. They worked through the evening, planning Lily's exhibition. Nora contacted artists while Ethan handled logistics. And somewhere between arguing about wall space and debating catering options, the tension shifted. The banter became easier, punctuated by genuine laughter. She caught him watching her sketch layout ideas, something soft in his expression, What? She asked, pencil hovering over paper. You bite your lower lip when you're concentrating. You've done it since college? Probably before? Lily mentioned it once, and I couldn't stop noticing. The intimacy of the observation made her dizzy. You're deflecting. The gallery spacing won't work with your current plan. Show me. She moved to stand beside him, pointing out the flow issues. His cologne was subtle, something woodsy that made her want to lean closer. Their shoulders touched as they bent over the blueprints. Here, she said, sketching modifications. If you angle this wall, create a curve, people naturally move through the space better. Plus, it's more interesting visually. That's brilliant. His voice held genuine admiration. See, this is why I needed you? Just for my spatial reasoning? Among other things. The words hung heavy with meaning. Hours passed like minutes. Around midnight, they ordered Thai food and spread it across the conference table, surrounded by sketches and fabric samples. Nora found herself telling him about a commission that had fallen through, how it had shaken her confidence. You doubt yourself too much, Ethan said, chopsticks pausing midair. Every artist I've met through Lily mentions you. They say you see things others miss, that you make them look deeper at their own work. Lily talks too much. She loves you. She wants you to see yourself the way she does. He set down his food, the way I do. Nora's heart hammered. And how's that? Talented, brave, beautiful in ways that have nothing to do with the obvious. He looked at her directly. No armor, no performance. Do you know why I take the bus? Because 3 years ago, Lily mentioned you couldn't afford a car, that you walked everywhere in the rain. I felt guilty driving past people struggling with groceries, with life. You changed how I see the world, Nora. You made me question everything I took for granted. The confession hit her like a wave. Don't do that. Do what? Make me hope. Her voice cracked slightly. I've spent 3 years convincing myself you were just Lily's perfect brother. That what I felt was irritation at your privilege, your ease with everything. But it was never that simple. Tell me. He moved closer, his presence overwhelming. Tell me what it really was. Fear. The word escaped like a prayer. You scared me because you made me want things I'd convinced myself I didn't need. Partnership, stability, someone who saw past my defenses. She laughed bitterly. Ironic, building walls against the architect. Nora, the way he said her name felt like coming home. I'm scared too. I've built my entire life on control, on having plans and blueprints for everything. Then you walked into that party covered in paint, completely unimpressed by anything I'd accomplished. And suddenly, none of my plans mattered. So we're both cowards. We're both careful with things that matter. His hand found hers on the table, fingers intertwining slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. What happens if we stop pretending? The question hung between them, enormous and terrifying. Nora looked at their joined hands, at 3 years of carefully constructed distance, dissolving with one touch. We probably crash and burn, she whispered. Probably. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But what if we don't? Her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Lily's name flashed on the screen with a message. Emergency. Can you come over? They pulled apart, reality crashing back. I have to go. I'll drive you. Ethan, please. It's late, and if Lily needs you, she might need both of us. The drive to Lily's apartment was quiet, charged with interrupted conversations. But when they arrived, Lily's emergency turned out to be a broken heart. Her boyfriend of 2 years having ended things via text, she opened the door with tear-stained cheeks and immediately fell into Nora's arms. I'm sorry, Lily sobbed. I know it's late. I just couldn't be alone. Never apologize. Nora held her friend, meeting Ethan's eyes over Lily's shoulder. His expression held understanding and something else, promise, maybe. This wasn't finished. They spent the night on Lily's couch, 3 of them, watching terrible movies and eating ice cream. Ethan proved surprisingly good at comfort, making Lily laugh through her tears with childhood stories. Nora watched him be gentle with his sister, saw the man beneath the polished exterior, and felt her last defenses crumbling. Around 3 in the morning, Lily fell asleep between them. Ethan carefully adjusted a blanket over her, then met Nora's gaze across the dimly lit room. "To be continued," he mouthed. She nodded, her heart full of terrifying hope. Some walls, she was learning, weren't meant to stand forever. Some were meant to be carefully, deliberately, taken down brick by brick. And maybe, just maybe, she was ready to hand him the blueprint. Morning light filtered through Lily's curtains in shades of gold and amber, painting the sleeping figure between them in soft focus. Nora had spent the night in an uncomfortable position, neck cramped, but she hadn't moved. Across the couch, Ethan looked equally stiff, but his eyes, when they met hers, held no regret. Only a quiet intensity that made her stomach flip. Lily stirred, blinking awake slowly. "You both stayed." Voice was rough from crying, but something like wonder colored the words. "Where else would we be?" Nora brushed hair from her friend's face. "I ruined your evening." "Your planning session." Lily sat up, awareness dawning. "Wait, you two spent hours together and didn't kill each other?" Ethan stood, stretching. "I'm making breakfast." "Nora, you still take your eggs scrambled with too much pepper?" The casual knowledge made Lily's eyebrows rise, but Nora just nodded, not trusting her voice. As Ethan moved to the kitchen, Lily grabbed her hand. "What happened last night?" "Your brother is less insufferable than advertised." "Nora," Lily's grip tightened. "I've watched you to dance around each other for 3 years. I'm heartbroken, not blind." Something shifted. The truth sat on Nora's tongue. 3 years of secrets wanting release. "I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if there's even a we to define. All I know is that pretending to dislike him is exhausting, and I'm not sure I can keep doing it." Lily's eyes filled with fresh tears. "But these look different. Hopeful. You have no idea how long I've waited to hear you say that. He asks about you constantly, you know? What you're working on if you're seeing anyone, whether you've mentioned him. It's been painful watching you both suffer. I made him uncomfortable. That first night, I was so rude. He mistook you for catering staff, Nora. Your pride was hurt, so you hurt him back. Then it became this pattern neither of you knew how to break." Lily squeezed her hand. "But maybe you don't have to break it. Maybe you just need to transform it into something honest." Ethan returned with plates of food, the domestic scene almost unbearably intimate. They ate together, Lily between them. The 3 points of a triangle that had existed for years, but was only now finding its true shape. "I should go," Nora said after helping clean up. "Let you rest." "I'll walk you out," Ethan said quickly. Too quickly in the hallway outside Lily's apartment, they stood in awkward silence until Ethan spoke. "Last night, before Lily called, you were about to say something, was I?" Nora, her name held gentle reproach. "We're not pretending anymore, remember?" She leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. "I was about to say that I've been in love with you since that stupid housewarming party. That every sharp word was self-preservation because you represented everything I thought I had to avoid to stay independent. That I convinced myself falling for you would mean losing myself." The confession hung in the air, enormous and irreversible. Ethan moved closer, hand braced against the wall beside her head, not trapping, but sheltering. "And now?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "Now I'm realizing that independence without connection is just isolation with better marketing." She met his eyes, letting him see everything she'd hidden. "I'm terrified, Ethan, of needing someone, of them having the power to hurt me, of not being enough when the novelty wears off." "You think you're a novelty?" Something fierce entered his expression. "Nora, you're the most real person I've ever met. Do you know what my life was before you? Perfect. Utterly, suffocatingly perfect. The right schools, right job, right everything. Then you walked in, covered in paint, completely unimpressed, and suddenly perfect felt empty." His hand found her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "You made me want messy. You made me want real. Every argument, every eye roll, every moment of your brilliant, frustrating authenticity made me more certain that everything I'd built was just scaffolding without you. It's too much pressure." But she was leaning into his touch. "It's not pressure. It's just truth. He smiled, soft and a little sad. I'm not asking you to complete me or fix me or any of that romantic nonsense. I'm asking if maybe we could figure out how to be honestly, messily ourselves together instead of perfectly miserable apart. Nora's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. I don't know how to do this. How to let someone in without losing myself. Then we learned together. His forehead touched hers. No blueprints, no plans. Just two people deciding that being scared together is better than being safe alone? What about Lily? Lily has been playing matchmaker for 3 years. I think she'll survive the shock of us finally getting our act together. The laugh that escaped her was half sob. Your confidence is annoying. Your defenses are transparent. No, you don't. His lips were close now, breath mingling with hers. May I kiss you? Properly this time, without interruptions, or pretending it doesn't mean everything. Instead of answering, Nora closed the distance herself. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined during 3 years of denial. It wasn't desperate or explosive. It was gentle, questioning, a conversation in touch. His hands cradled her face like she was precious, and she let herself lean into him. Let herself believe this might be real when they finally parted. Both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. I'm all in, Nora. Completely terrified, but all in. However fast or slow you need to go, whatever boundaries you need, I'm here. What if I'm difficult? You've been difficult for 3 years. I'm clearly a glutton for punishment. His smile was radiant. Besides, easy is boring. I want authentic. I want you arguing with my design choices and making me see the world differently. I want messy and real and honest. Something in Nora's chest loosened, a knot she'd carried so long she'd forgotten it was there. Okay. Let's try this. The honest thing. No more performing. She took a shaky breath, but slowly. And you have to promise that if this doesn't work, you won't disappear. Lily can't lose both of us, deal. Though it's going to work. Can't know that. I can know I'm going to try with everything I have. He kissed her forehead, achingly tender, starting with finishing Lily's gallery, together, as partners. The word felt significant, layered with possibility. Partners. Not separate, not merged. But choosing to build something side by side, over the next 2 weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Planning sessions that ran late, filled with creative debates and stolen touches. Ethan showed her his sketches, the dreams he'd never shared with anyone. Nora led him into her world of indie artists and underground galleries. They learned each other in quiet moments, discovering that honesty felt revolutionary after years of pretense. Lily's birthday arrived with perfect spring weather. The gallery they'd transformed was filled with her favorite artists. Walls painted in colors Nora had chosen, lighting designed by Ethan to make each piece shine. When Lily walked in, her gasp of delight made every hour of work worthwhile. You did this? She turned to them, tears streaming. Together? Turns out we make a good team, Ethan said. His hand finding Nora's, Lily's eyes went wide, dropping to their intertwined fingers, then back to their faces. Finally, do you know how long I've been waiting for you two to figure this out?
You knew?
Nora asked, shocked. Everyone knew except you? Lily hugged them both fiercely. I'm so happy I could burst. My 2 favorite people finally being honest. The evening unfolded in laughter and art, friends celebrating Lily while Nora and Ethan stole glances across the room. Later, after the guests left and Lily had been thoroughly celebrated, the 3 of them sat among the empty gallery, exhausted and content. Thank you, Lily said softly. Not just for this, but for finally letting yourselves be happy. You both deserve it. Walking home that night, hand in hand under streetlights. Nora felt something she'd been chasing her whole life without knowing it. Not independence, not safety, but the courage to be vulnerable with someone who saw her completely and chose to stay. What are you thinking? Ethan asked, their steps synchronized. That I spent 3 years building walls when I should have been building bridges. She stopped, pulling him to face her. That loving you doesn't make me weak, it makes me brave. That maybe the strongest thing I've ever done is let you see me scared. His kiss tasted like promise and coffee and new beginnings. For the record, You terrify me in the best possible way. You make me want to be more honest, more real, more myself." "Good," Nora whispered against his lips. "Because you're stuck with the authentic version now. Paint stains, terrible jokes, and all. Wouldn't have it any other way." They walked on into the Seattle night, past coffee shops and art galleries, through rain that caught streetlight like falling stars. Behind them, 3 years of pretending dissolved into honesty. Ahead, a future without scripts or armor, just two people choosing each other. Messy and real and perfectly imperfect. Some walls weren't meant to protect, Nora realized. Some were meant to fall. And sometimes the person you spent years pushing away was the one who'd been patiently waiting for you to realize they were home.